Well, how's the full-time woodworking life been treating you?
Hectic. Definitely hectic. So, yeah.
Is this your first full week, or you've been doing for 2 weeks now?
Yeah, it was 2 weeks on Friday.
Nice. So
yeah, 2 full weeks on Friday.
You've been working on those beams. I saw that. And you've been working on beams a lot, though, right? You like actually doing the beams, correct?
Yeah, they're fun. They're a fun project to do.
Well, what do you like about them? Is it just the cost of them, or the money you make on them, or you actually enjoy building them?
I enjoy building them, and it was definitely like the first set that I did. I built them kind of, I guess, my way, and then the second set we actually like did them with a shaper and a miter lock. So it was just learning how to do that was fun, and I generally like those in houses. So when I like something, it's fun to build those.
Yeah.
Completely
transforms rooms. Like, I've seen the pictures that you've done for some of them, but like they make fireplaces, like beams, wooden beams with like white walls with a stone fireplace. Like, that's what I want one day. Right now I don't have a fireplace. I got like a little electric one that blows my breaker all the time. Pisses me off.
Is it on a light switch?
No, that'd be like it was like,
it's not a 3-way light switch.
Yeah, the oven has to be on for it to work. Yeah,
don't flush the toilet or it turns off.
yeah. But those are really cool.
This is 2 weeks in a row we've had somebody that is not like social media woodworking oriented and more in commission build oriented. So it's actually, I think it's kind of cool, because in what we do in our realm of social media stuff, like you guys are actually not as common as just content creators, I don't think, or maybe that's just the people that I follow or whatever. But so I think that's kind of cool. And Chad, you don't really do where Stevie does like built-ins for like one particular family, one particular place. You do like large scale stuff too, right? Like restaurants, like tables for the whole restaurant and like these beams and stuff.
Yeah, I've done 3 restaurants. The last one that we just finished up, that was the biggest one. There was 14 dining booths and 37 tables. Damn. Plus there was trim work and like accent wall material. So yeah, it was a process.
That's incredible, dude. There's people who go their entire woodworking hobbyist career and will never make that many tables in their lifetime.
Yeah.
More or less in one sitting.
Well, that's how it is where I like my day job now. I've made more tables since I started there than ever before, times 10. Like, I made more in the last 3 weeks than I ever did before.
Yeah. I'm hoping I don't ever build 37 tables in my entire life. I'm saying from like way back when to like even counting coffee tables at some point. But so how do you manage like when you go through and do an entire freaking restaurant like that?
Mm-hmm.
You obviously give like a bulk price, right? Like instead of doing individual tables, or do you pretty much just say, okay, this is the price to make it, I'm gonna times it by 37 tables and this is it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, so I break it down into, so my invoices, they're detailed, but I also break it down into individual items. So like for that job, there was 4 different tables, like sizes. So each individual size table had a price and then just a quantity. And then there was, I think, 3 different sizes of dining booths. So those were all, invoiced separately. So there was 10 of one size, 4 of another, and then 1 that was kind of by itself. So I break it down that way. And then that way, because I build off of my invoices. So basically when I'm looking at the invoice, I know that I have to build, 20 of these tables versus, just winging it, I guess, per se.
Yeah.
So
you
I'm sorry if you can hear.
You're good. No, my dog's usually like walking in circles behind me the whole time, so don't worry about it.
We're used to Jesse's dog doing the exact same thing.
Well, right before we started recording, he was snoring on the couch, and I was like, dude, you got to get out of here. So I took him inside because you could actually hear it. But anyway, actually, so you were telling us a little before the podcast. You don't have to go in great detail, but so you do everything off your invoice, right? Because when you get that invoice, or how do you have them check it off, right? Because when you get somebody or somebody's upset because they don't think it was billed to what was agreed on before, is it a contract or is it an invoice, just the invoice that you go off of?
So it has been just the invoice, and I actually use QuickBooks for it. And they, it gets emailed. Sorry, there's a dog underneath me right now. So it gets emailed to them, and basically when they make the deposit, that's them accepting, all the terms on that invoice. It's going to change, and because I just finished up a job where the client and the contractor were well aware of material, basically specifications and limits. And then they just didn't like kind of what they got, even though they knew about it. So we kind of, I guess it was a 50-50 kind of fix. Hey, I'll do this at a set price. And
sorry, your dog's licking itself in the background.
Is he? I didn't even notice. I didn't even notice.
I was like, why is he laughing?
That's why I didn't notice it.
This is why I have, and I knew, because I love all of you. So I brought extra just in case.
Hey, there you go.
I like it. I
don't even have to get up. I can just pour straight from the room.
That's hilarious.
I'm the most unprofessional one here, by the way. I can never hold it together for anything. I always am the first one to laugh. Sorry.
It's just, I've always built off of invoices, and I've kind of just done an overview of it. But from now on, there's going to be like a contract, and basically all that's going to go in the invoice. Yeah. So I won't have to send them multiple documents, but it's all going to be in there, and they're going to physically have to sign that and send that back. And QuickBooks allows them to do that digitally.
Yeah, that's good.
So I can have a record and they can have a record.
Yeah,
QuickBooks
it just protects
awesome.
you, right, from not having to get in fights or like them saying, hey, you got to rebuild everything, and it's like, well, I ain't doing that.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, and I've for as long as I've been doing this, I mean, as woodworkers, we all know mistakes get made. Like, I have never not fixed a mistake or basically not owned up when I made a mistake. But I won't own it up. I won't eat it when it's their fault. I just won't. Yeah. You can't run a business like that.
I mean, there's not a huge margin there in the first place, I wouldn't think. And you can go real fast from, keeping your head above water to just absolutely losing your ass when it comes to like a job, I'm sure. And without having something like that in place.
Yeah. I have actually, the most I've ever lost on a job was $4,500. I lost $4,500 on a job one time because I gave a customer a quote, and I had gotten a quote for some metal work from a guy, and it wasn't in writing. So then when he went to build it, he like tripled the price on me, and I just couldn't do it. So I ended up having somebody else build it, but it cost me $4,500. But I didn't go back to the client and ask for it.
Yeah,
because I gave him a price, and it is what it is.
Yeah. See, and I think that's like good customer service, right? So you kind of like, hey, that was on me because I didn't get in writing, whatever. Mm-hmm. But like one thing that bothers me is when people say the customer's always right. I'm like, no, that's not. No. Like, to be honest, like there's a lot of times they're not right. So, and I think you can be good with customer service without killing your business and doing, taking hits all the time because they change their mind or whatever it is.
Yeah, there's definitely, and I've learned a ton from Charles over at Knothead. Yeah, I've learned a ton about business from him, and when you eat stuff and when you don't eat stuff. But this particular one, there was no way that I was gonna, because they were well aware of it.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's like, just because you didn't like it is not my fault.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, you want to have good customer service, but also people will take advantage of you very fast.
Yes.
I mean, in this,
they will.
Not everybody is nice, and people will take advantage of what you do and your skill set as much as possible sometimes. And sometimes they're out to even do it, and sometimes they might not even be trying to do it, but they will. So if you don't watch out for yourself, nobody else is.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. So when you're taking, obviously you took the plunge like 2 weeks ago, but you've been doing woodworking for how long now? Like 4 or 5 years or more than that?
I mean, consistently 4 or 5 years. I really started the business in January of 2015 is when the business officially started. I mean, I took woodshop in high school like everybody else, because it was better than English class. And I kind of tinkered with it, but I didn't really, start, building until January of 2015.
Gotcha. I think that's when because us four have all been in like the same group chat or whatever since probably 2016, maybe a little earlier than that. But we've all known each other for a long time. So you didn't start that much business wise. You've been doing it, but business wise, much before we all started met, huh?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it was all around the same time. I think the first person I actually really started kind of like talking to was Brandon. And I think I met you guys basically through the group chat, and then it just kind of spiraled from there, and then now you guys are stuck with me.
Yeah, I remember when you finally got your shop, and everybody in the group was like, "What? This guy's going full time?" You weren't going like full time, but you had like a legit shop,
Yeah.
Well, shoot, you were pretty much working full-time hours even when you had another job. I mean,
and you ordered 4 football fields at Barnwood, I think, something like
that. I still have a few pieces of that too.
I still have the stuff that you gave me.
Oh, really?
Well, I used like half of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went down and visited his shop, and then he gave me like enough to build a table, and then I flaked out and didn't build a table. But I did build a bench.
I'll send you the bill for that too.
Yeah,
I know. You're like, how much board feet was that? Okay, all right, invoice on the way.
Shoot me the Venmo.
Do you were you talking about Charles at Knothead? Do you get a lot of your wood or any of your wood over from him?
I exclusively buy like anything live edge from him.
Gotcha.
It was really the one thing that was really important to me when I started business. And it still holds true today is that relationships and business, they thrive off of each other. So like you guys have seen it, Charles is in my shop a lot, right? Like I couldn't have done the last beam job without him. I couldn't have done the restaurant job without him, just because there's so much. It's just, for me to do that all by myself, it would have taken me 6 months. So he's constantly there for my help. So there's other people I could buy slabs from, but he has it. So why not support his business also?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Now you said by yourself, do you not have any employees? Is it just you right now?
Yeah, it's just me.
Wow.
Yeah.
You've had employees though.
Yes, I have. We won't talk about that.
He got deported to Russia.
Yeah, we won't talk about that. It's the one thing I learned as a business owner is you can be friends with your employees, or you can be friendly with your employees, but you can't be friends with them.
Yeah,
it's a very fine line to walk.
Yeah. So do you like being by yourself, like right now, currently, or are you looking for help? Because, I mean, doing 37 tables, I mean, I know this was a while ago, but like doing 37 tables by yourself sounds horrific. Like, it just sounds like it's going to take you so long.
Yeah.
And just the process of everything.
I wonder what
I would put my own 2-week notice in.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, to be completely honest with you, when I take those jobs knowing that I can call Charles and he can come help. Like, to be completely honest with you, while I was doing other stuff, he built the 37 tables because, he's in the shop 40 hours a week while I was still working at the PD. So it's like I could go in and do some things, but I was gone by 12 every day, pretty much all the time. There's only so much you can do, no matter how much you want. You get jobs like that, you can't do them by yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
you do a lot of metal work, right? Like yourself, you do like basic welding for table legs and things like that as well. So you're not just doing straight woodworking, or are you outsourcing that stuff?
I outsource all of my metal work right now, but that is like one of my major goals this year is to learn how to do it.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's not that
That's kind
hard.
of what
I learned how to do it.
Yeah. That's what I'm in the process
If
of
I
doing
can do
too.
it. Anybody
Yeah.
can. It's like a
That's
metal
pretty much the
glue
motto.
gun. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
That's what
He's
the
like, it's
welder
like
at
just
work.
welding's like putting down caulk. You'll get it real
Yeah,
fast.
the like pro welder we have at work, he like TIGs everything, stainless aluminum, like all that. And he's like, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna do some welding. He's like, oh, you're gonna use the glue gun? Like, he's like, you sure you don't want to learn how to TIG? He's like all about teaching me how to TIG, and I'm like, I don't have time right now. He's like, all right, just go use the glue gun, little baby.
Yeah.
If I were you, I'd take him up on learning how to do the TIG though.
Right.
If you have somebody
I did a
that's
little
like, hey, I
bit.
want to teach you, I'd be
Yeah.
like, I'm all for it.
Oh yeah. No,
Yeah.
I do. I just never have time at work.
Yeah.
I'm so busy.
Yeah.
So I found it funny a minute ago when we were talking before the podcast that Chad was like, he said he had to Google how to hook his headphones to his computer. Yet somehow he knows how to run the world's largest CNC machine I've ever seen in my entire life.
Right?
Like,
Yes.
And learn cabinet design programming.
How? Where do you go to learn that stuff? Do you just figure it out on your own?
Internet.
So the CNC really came about when my last employee, when he quit. I was kind of, it was, I mean, he's a good dude, but it was kind of like abrupt, and I just made, I'd been wanting to go full time for a long time, and I basically sat down and said, what's a way that I can create, I can build capital in the business, and I can make stuff that sells where it's a fixed cost every month, right? I know what it's going to cost me. And I actually I was like, hey, CNC, and you guys know this, like I used to kind of joke with CNC woodworking and be like, oh, that's not real woodworking, right? You're just cutting on a CNC. Dude, that is the hardest thing that I've ever had to learn.
Yeah.
Like, I will go back through the police academy again before I'll learn CNC again. I've rammed the thing into itself. I've almost caught it on fire. Like every time I fire at my vacuum pump, it still smells like a campfire in my shop.
Awesome.
But I wanted, and I didn't want to do like the small one because I wanted to get into, hey, I can make parts, or I can do, like, I can build cabinets. So I actually reached out to Matt from Tools Today and said, hey, because you guys know how my stuff is with Laguna. I said, what's a good company? And he turned me on to Shop Saver. And when I started talking to him, I was like, these are the guys I'm going with. All of everything that I've learned is solely because of those guys, and just the amazing customer service that they have, and the companies that they're partnered with is just unreal.
Has it been a good addition to your shop? I mean, have you been able to utilize it the way you've wanted to?
I'm starting to. It took me. There was a lot of logistical issues, like getting it hooked up with. We had an issue with the vacuum pump where it was supposed to run on like single phase power, and it only could run on 3-phase, and we had to draw power from another shop. So I mean, there was months where we were trying to get it hooked up. But now that I've been in there for 2 weeks, like yesterday, I was building. And I was just taking the scrap sheets of plywood that I have left over, and I was throwing them on the CNC, and I was just letting it cut cornhole board sets. So like I cut, I sell them for $300 a piece. I cut 6. So I literally have $1,800 worth of product that I cut while I was doing other stuff.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And
So
those
it's nice.
sell.
Yeah, exactly. Like I've already sold 2 of them just by posting them on Instagram.
Today's podcast is sponsored by Boss Hammer Company. Boss Hammer is an American company that prides themselves in manufacturing every part of their hammers in the USA.
The Boss hammers have a patented design that allows the hammer to be also used as a speed square, letting you accurately mark studs and angles fast. They come in poly fiberglass handles, titanium, and hickory. A bunch of different sizes and weights to match your needs.
You can also get your company logo lasered onto any of the hickory hammers that they offer. Go check out Boss Hammer Company on their social media and send them a message letting them know that you heard about them on the Go Build Something podcast. Go to their website and see what they offer at www.bosshammerco.com. That's www.bosshammerco.com.
So do you get a lot of sales from Instagram?
I get probably 95% of everything from Instagram.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's, for me, I don't know about YouTube, but like for me, I've like, even when I was pushing making stuff locally, I hardly ever got any contacts locally. It was all through Facebook because you could go through the marketplace or go through the classifieds or the groups. But I never get reached out through Instagram. That's correct. That's kind of cool. That means you have a really engaged audience in your local area, or the people that see it,
Yeah, it's really weird to me because I don't have this massive following on Instagram like you guys or like other people do. And one of the things that I've tried to focus on more is just I don't comment back a lot of times. I don't like engage with my followers, and it's something I've tried to do more of, and I'm getting better at. But it's weird. I don't know why, but I do get a lot of like client-based messages and people wanting quotes, and most of my stuff comes from Instagram.
Do you? This is just curiosity. Do you tag your location on everything? Like when you do a post, do you tag like I'm in this city? I forget what city you're in, but this city in California.
Yeah, I tag the shop. So I mean, I can't remember how I first did it, but I physically had to type in the address and put a name on and click Earle's Woodworks, and every post Earle's Woodworks is tagged as the location pretty much.
I wonder if that helps you, just because when people in their Discover tab, if they're looking at interior design and they're in your area, if it starts to feed them that because you tagged it. I would assume it would, but I actually don't know. That's why I'm curious, but that's cool.
I've tried to learn the Instagram algorithms and all that, and I'm just nope.
Good luck with
got
that.
no desire to do that.
It's a never-ending battle trying to figure this out.
Unless you hire two other people to do your social media, I don't know many, if any, people who do the kind of work that you do as much as you do it and can also run a successful social media, as in like massive followings or engagements and stuff like that. It's just too much work. It's a full-time job in itself. So I think commission builders like yourself who run a good, successful woodworking company, it's tough. Like I was saying earlier, we had Built by Stevie on last week, and the same thing for her. She doesn't have a massive following, but she has a massive client base. Like, she stays really busy, and there's just no way you can get that amount of time to do both of those. You kind of have to pick or choose. You can, as we do, you can do social media and then do a little bit of commission builds, or you can do all commission builds and a little bit of social media.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think each kind of aspect of it requires so much dedication to it that it would be very hard to do, it by yourself, just because like the content creation side of it, I've tried just, a little bit, and I'm like, I want to beat my head into the desk, right? Like, I literally do. Like, I want to beat my head into the desk because I'm like, I can't cut anything. I've got to sit in front of the computer and just do this. And for me, I end up on YouTube watching like, videos of cats like jumping off of roofs or something, because I'm just like, it definitely, each one definitely has its skill set, and it's hard to keep. It's hard, even the client builds, it's hard to keep them, straight. So, yeah.
Well, for listeners' sake, where are you? Jesse mentioned it again. Where are you located? Where's your shop at?
So we're right in the heart of farmland in California. It's not free America, but we're about an hour south of Sacramento. So
okay,
actually. If you're from I grew up in Modesto, which, if you're familiar with kind of some of the major news stories that hit in the early 2000s, Modesto got put on the map, not for good reasons, but yeah, we're out there.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Now, how far are you and Brandon? How far are you guys from each other?
3 hours.
Probably, what, 2 hours, Brandon?
I think it's like 3. Takes me right about 3 to get to Charles's, so something like that. 2.5, 3.
So, 2.5, because Charles is about 30 minutes from me.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's cool, man.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I gotta ask you.
Go ahead.
You got whiskey. You were showing whiskey. What kind of whiskey you got going with you?
So this is Maker's Mark 46, but right now I'm sipping on some of that Screwball.
Ooh, you can't see
so
it. It's right,
good.
It's right up there. I got Screwball too. I love Screwball.
Yeah, so good. I actually,
is that
didn't know
peanut butter stuff?
Yeah,
yes,
it's delicious. I have a I don't know what kind of liquor it is, but I have a grape jelly flavored liquor.
Really?
Yeah. So someone brought over for Halloween, so we did peanut butter and jelly shots, and it was fantastic. I had one, and I was like, oh, I should not drink that because that was way too easy to drink, and I'm gonna move on. Everybody, I got 3 kids here. I'm not gonna have another one.
Dude,
I remember when I was in college too.
Yeah, like 40 years ago.
Back when
Jesse,
actually, go ahead.
No, Jesse P, how old are you?
I turned 39 in April.
I don't want to, dude. None of you guys. I don't want to hear a thing. Like,
I'm grayer than you and balder somehow.
well, that's because. Well, I actually made myself pretty for you guys, but I got this massive widow's peak going on right here. Yeah, no, it's 40 was rough. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
So,
why? You mean just body wise, like you feel old, or is it mentally, or mentally you feel old?
So what's funny is the last 2 weeks I've mentally felt like I was 25 again, right? Because it's like new and exciting, and get up and get to do what I want, and it's like, yeah, let's go. And my body's like, slow down, old man, calm down. Like, yeah.
That's funny.
So
Now, do you mind talking about for a minute your previous employment or what you used to do?
no, not at all.
How many years in law enforcement did you spend?
I had 17 and a half full time.
Gotcha. And you retired as a sergeant, right?
Yes.
Nice. Well, we appreciate your service, man. Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Now, how many of those years did you handle a canine?
5.5.
5.5.
Yeah, 5.5.
Were those pretty challenging years with handling a dog, not only to worry about your duties, but also dealing with the dog as well?
It was physically demanding, just because, your canine, everybody likes SWAT, right? Like SWAT's so cool. But I think canine is always in the muck, right? Like you're always the first one in, you're always leading the charge. It was the funnest time I ever had. And it was just, it's definitely physically demanding and taxing and tiring. Yeah. So
did your dog retire with you?
Yeah, I retired him in October 2013, and then he passed away April 13th of 2018.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry to hear about that.
Yeah, I remember that.
Oh, dude, I felt
so bad. I was like, oh man.
I was like, I'm like the big tough guy exterior, right? Like, yeah, like I'll be like, I used to joke like, oh no, he'll be, I'll just put him down and we'll get another dog. For like 2.5 days, dude, I cried like a baby. Yeah. Like I remember being in the vet's office because it got so, he got so bad that I remember I had to, he was outside and he was going to the bathroom and his like back legs gave out and he couldn't get up and he was like sitting in his feces. And at like 12:30 in the morning, I looked at my wife and I'm like, it's time. So we called and I was like, I don't want him to go through this anymore. Like, let's do the humane thing. And the next day we go to the vet and I remember being on the floor with him and just bawling my eyes out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well,
like it was the toughest. It was horrible.
I think it's awesome they let you guys take the dogs home with you and be yours afterwards because, I mean, you're literally with that dog every single day, like at home, at work, everywhere else. So I'm sure there's a very strong bond that you get there. So I really like the fact that they let y'all take your dogs, with you once they retire and stuff. So that's awesome. Yeah.
Well, and then I think too, your bond, right? Like what? Like my dog died, I think 2018 as well. No. Uh-huh. I don't know. Like it was in the last couple years, and I remember doing the same thing, crying my eyes out and all this stuff. Oh yeah. But you have this other, with a canine, you have this other bond too because he was your partner through. Oh yeah. What did you say? 7 years? Something like that. We have 5.5.
5.5
years.
5.5.
It's a long time. That's a long time to like have that partnership, and then I don't know. That's that's rough, man. But I always wanted to be a K9 officer, even when I was in. And then they told me like, yeah, if you did, you'd have to be on the interdiction team, which means you're either down south by like I-70 or I-80 or we had one in the other valley, but I'd have to move. And I was like,
yeah,
I'll pass. I like where I live too much. It's a bummer, but
yeah,
I always wanted to be a K9.
It was. And you'll hear every canine officer say it who's ever worked a dog. They will be the best partners that you ever have.
Yeah.
Like no gripes to the guys that I worked with, but that dog literally would have died for me, hands down.
Yeah.
So
that's really cool.
Yeah. You kind of, in 17 years. Yeah. Yeah, man, you kind of went through a lot. So it was, I'm sure, at retirement, that was a tough decision to make, and going into, your own business, another realm of tough decision as well. It wasn't like you just quit and then went to work for somebody else,
No.
So that's a lot. That's a lot of taxing moments there. I'm sure in a long time. So I'm sure the last couple of weeks have been very freeing in some ways, but also I'm sure extremely stressful too.
Yeah, it was weird. Like, I had no idea what to expect when, like, I literally made the decision. I had told my chief, hey, this is, I'm 95% sure I'm going to do this. I just, I got a meeting with the accountant to kind of run the numbers and make the final decision. And then when I made the final decision and I told everybody there, and I gave basically the department 30 days because I wanted them to do the sergeant's test and have everything in place. I just want to leave them kind of in limbo. And there was 2 weeks where it was just freeing. I felt really good. And to be honest with you, then there was nights where I couldn't sleep. There was nightmares. There was, doubt. There was just all these things. And I just was like, no, because I thought about it. I was like, man, maybe I'm making the wrong decision. How am I gonna pay for the house? How am I gonna put food on the table? How am I gonna do all these things that I've been doing? And I was just like, nope. I made the decision. I'm gonna stick to it, and I'm gonna make it work no matter what. Right? Like I literally told myself, if all I can do is keep the house, like I don't care if I drive a truck that's 30 years old. I don't care if I have cable. I don't care if I have this. I don't care if I have that. I'm gonna do it. And once I hit that point, it was just like full speed ahead.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Did you make the decision to go full time and leave your other career? Did you feel like that the woodworking part, that business aspect, that's just your passion? Or did you feel like, because there's a lot of stuff going on with law enforcement. So there could be a lot of, that's what I'm asking is like, was there other stuff with just the state of this country and law enforcement and the state of California that just drive you away? Or is it kind of like, it's time because I feel like my passion is somewhere else besides this job?
I think it was both.
Yeah.
Like I still have, I wouldn't trade even with all the stuff I saw and all the stuff I went through, and I worked for a small town, right? Like there was 10,000 people in the town. I don't work in like Los Angeles or San Francisco. I got a buddy in Stockton right now that got into a horrific fight and got injured like last week. I mean, I even Stockton, if you guys know, well, you guys don't, but Brandon might. Stockton is a turd, right? Yeah. Like it's just a horrible place.
It's a garbage hole.
Yeah.
It's a garbage hole.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a horrible community. I didn't go through a lot of that, but there were things over 17 years that, I don't wish my son to ever see that I saw in law enforcement. Yeah. And I think with everything that was going on politically and just in the state, that drove me to woodworking. That kind of drove me to, hey, I really enjoy this. So let's really see what I can do with it. So it was a little bit of both, to be honest with you. That it just, I was like, okay, it's time.
Has it become like this is a job now and you don't enjoy it as much as you did? Or
hopefully
no.
Not 2 weeks.
No,
if you already hit that point, it's only 2 weeks.
No, but he's been doing it for years.
Yeah. It hasn't yet. What has been hard is for me the last 2 weeks is to remember that this is now how I get paid.
Right.
Like there's been days where I'm like, oh, man, I really don't feel like going to the shop. And I'm kind of like, I can't lollygag in the morning. And then I'm like, oh, dude, you got bills due.
Yeah.
You got to get to the shop and turn out customer product. I mean, I worked Saturday and today, so it's been hard because I'm like, oh, before it was like, this is, it was side money, right? And I was building it to get to where I am now. But it was always like all the bills will get paid because I had the PD, money coming in. Now it's like there ain't no check coming. Mm-hmm. So it's time to let's get going.
Yeah.
So that's been the hard part.
Yeah. Do you feel like you've been kicked in another gear like the last 2 weeks? Like once it hit, you were like, oh, I'm being I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've kind of had what I didn't expect was how tired I actually was from the years where I was, because like my typical schedule before, like on my 4 days on patrol was I'd work 2 p.m. to 1 a.m. I'd get off, I'd fall asleep usually around 2 a.m. and I'd be back up at 6 and I'd be in the shop from like 7 to 12 or 12:30. I'd go home, I'd eat lunch and I'd go to work. Well, like I was burning the candle at both ends. And the last 2 weeks, I've literally like my body's like, dude, you need some rest. Like, so it's how tired I was. I did not think that it was going to be this hard.
Yeah.
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 Was that about the time that you sent us a video from the balcony of like palm trees behind you? was that about the time that you got that rest?
I did. So I had wanted to go to Tahoe, and thank God for my wife, because she literally. So my wife, the thing she values probably more than me is sleep, and rest and relaxation. So our anniversary is on December 28th. So she actually got me. I like to go to Tahoe. I like to gamble. I like to have that kind of fun. And I knew that it probably wasn't going to happen for a while because I wasn't going to have the income that I had before. So for our anniversary, she got me that Tahoe trip. So that was kind of like my hoorah. Like I'm going to Tahoe, and then I've got 3 days left at the PD, and then we're full speed ahead. So yeah, it was kind of nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
Calm before the storm.
How many hours a week? And I know this is not a good gauge because it's your first 2 weeks. You're geared up. You're going. But how many hours a week are you spending in the shop, or I guess how many hours a week do you plan on spending in the shop? And are you going to treat that pretty cut and dry, like not try to spend over too much amount of time there?
Well, so my original plan is that I was going to get up I'm a firm believer that people that get up early in the morning are more successful. People
Agreed, right, Brandon?
Yeah. Brandon.
I love getting up early.
You agree with this, Brandon?
It's like my favorite thing.
He told us today he eats breakfast at 2 p.m.
That's what I said.
That's not a lie.
I said lunch.
Whatever. When you wake up at 11, it's breakfast.
Yeah. I usually get up on my days off at like 8, 9, but today I stayed up till like 2:30 in the morning.
People who don't drink don't do that, okay?
I do that.
Anyway,
sorry, go ahead.
No, it's fine. So my original plan was that I was going to be up at 4 a.m. every morning. I was going to be at the shop by 5:30 and basically work. Huh?
Pass.
So
we need to change him. We need to change him.
I've been working. I had worked nights since 2008. So I had been on that 2 to 1 schedule or graveyard since 2008. So 13 years of nights, I was like, I'm done with it. So I wanted to basically be at the shop by 5:30, no later than 6. So if I decided that I wanted to leave at 2 or 3, I'd still put in an 8-hour day.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm going to put in 8 hours a day. What had happened was the moment I announced that I was going full time, it just exploded. Like the amount of, and it's a blessing, absolutely. The amount of orders and the amount of support that I've gotten over the last 2 weeks has been unreal. But now what I found out is that I haven't really been in the shop the last 2 weeks. I've been meeting with clients. So we're it was Friday. I left the house at like 7 a.m. and I went to 6 different cities and like came back to the shop to meet Charles to get some stuff that he worked on for me. and then drive another 30 minutes to another meeting. I literally was gone from like 7 a.m. till 4:30 just running errands and meeting clients that were all business based. So it's really going to take a lot of focus from me to like really kind of hammer down. These are the days I meet with clients. These are the days that I'm in the shop. And these, like, I at least want to take one day off where I can do nothing but play Xbox. Like, that's all I want to do.
You need it.
Yeah.
I think everybody needs, their own Sabbath in some way, where you just like tune out everything. I've done that this week. I took Friday off. I went skiing. It was my wife's birthday. And then Sunday, I try to do every Sunday because I was doing the same thing. When I left UHP, I was like, all right, this is awesome, especially weekends because my wife's home from work. So I was working every single day, every day during the week. And then Saturday and Sunday, I was actually working more. And then I got burnout real quick. And then, taking that at least that one day to recoup will help you.
Yeah. And so the other thing that I've started to do too is like, I make a list, either mentally, which doesn't work real well because I forget a lot of stuff. So I've tried to write stuff down. Lists are key for me. I realize if I have a list, everything gets done. Mm-hmm. So like today I went to the shop and I knew there were certain things I had to flatten on the CNC. There were certain things I had to cut. There were certain things that I had to finish. I had to get to a certain point. And like 3:30, I was like, hey, I'm done. I'm out. I got everything done that I needed to do. And then tomorrow morning, I know like I have a delivery. I got to go pick up some material. And then I'm back in the shop until probably like 5 or 6. And as long as I get everything done, then I'm good to go. So yeah, I'm trying to focus more on lists and plan it out than I am just go there because I'm a spun monkey. So like I'll get there and be like, oh, hey, I want to make a new sign or I want to do this. And I start working on that. And then this doesn't get done. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah. Well, I have to ask, we're super into barbecue. Do you barbecue?
Absolutely.
Okay. Do you have a smoker or you do
what's
gas,
what's in the
charcoal?
backyard, Chad? What's in the backyard?
Yeah.
I have and
that's not a dirty euphemism. He's just saying he's asking your actual backyard.
Legit backyard.
Well, I think you guys are kind of snobby with your Traegers. So
I'm just lazy. That's all it really is.
I have a Green Mountain.
Oh, you still have a smoker though.
Mm-hmm.
A pellet grill.
Oh, I have a smoker. I have one of the Blue Rhino skillets, the big skillets. Which if you guys don't,
top, like a flat top.
I just got one of those.
Dude, it is the best thing ever.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So
yes.
I want one.
If it's the same one, mine's like a camper style, I guess. It's got a collapsible stand that comes with it. Do you have that one? Uh-huh. It's like a 2-burner flat top.
No, this one's it's like the big, like kind of like what they like. You ever hired the people that make tacos for like parties and stuff? They come and do that, and they've got that big like skillet.
Oh yeah.
So this one, the base. Well, I don't know. The base might collapse. Yeah. I don't know. I don't get out much, so I wouldn't take it anywhere.
You gotta take it to your shop, dude.
But mine's a 2-burner. It's a pretty good size, and it's on like a wheeled like stand. But the stand can collapse, and you can take it places or whatever. But it's got a top that comes down on it. But I evidently Blue Rhino Lowe's was going to stop carrying them or something.
Really?
So I went around and found the Lowe's local to me. They had them. They're like regular $200, and I was able to get it for $75.
Oh, I would have bought another one just for that. Yeah.
I called my dad and I told him about it. And my dad, he ran over to another Lowe's and he called me. He's like, hey, I got another one. He's like, I got it for $80. I was like, oh, that's awesome. And then he called me like, an hour later. He's like, hey, I went to another Lowe's. I got another one. I got it for $60. I was like, what are you doing?
He's like, I got an eBay shop and I'm going to start selling them.
Like, you have a problem. He's like, I don't know. I figured people would want them. But anyway,
awesome.
That thing is awesome. It's great for, so now I'll cook steak on the Traeger and then I'll fire that thing up and get it super, super hot and put the oil and butter and stuff in there and then sear it on that. And it's a great 1-2 punch.
That's what I need.
It's perfect.
I think I'm gonna build one into whatever I do for my outdoor thing because my wife hates when I sear inside because that's what I usually do. I don't like leaving the pan in the Traeger and then having to wait for it to go all the way to the top and then sear in there. I hate it. So I usually just put one on my cast iron on my stove and do it, but literally our wall, like the
I was gonna say, I remember watching a video of you doing it, and I was like, "Oh my god,
it's so bad!
Oil
like
is freaking everywhere."
We don't have cabinets; we just have shelves. I put in hickory shelves, and it's just like it's white. We have white dishes, and so every time I do that, it's just covered in grease, and I have to like take them all down and rewash all my dishes. It's annoying.
Just grease splatter all over the wall.
It's bad.
You don't have a charcoal or a gas grill, Jesse?
I don't. I got rid of it. It was just the one I had was huge. It was like a double charcoal and a gas one.
Yeah.
And I didn't use it enough. So like I have a outdoor patio thing that is just, it's mold, like it's just destroyed. Like the guy that built it sucked. So I'm going to take it all out and build in the new, like in my 780 Traeger into one part of it. And then I want to build one of the flat tops into another part, and then it'd be concrete counters and stuff.
Yeah.
But if that's the case, it'll be easy because I can just turn that on next to it and then just throw it over when I'm done. So, and I'd like to do bacon and breakfast out there too.
The nice thing about the one that I have, Jesse, is that sorry, Chad.
Is
that you can get the converter so you can run it on the small Coleman propane tanks, like the camper ones, or you can or you can run it off the big tank if you just grab one of the conversion things.
That's cool.
Yeah, so for you it'd be perfect to throw it with the camper and go.
Yeah. Have you guys heard of Blackstone? I think that's what they're famous for.
Yeah, that's my dad's got one of those.
Are here in Logan, where I live. So like Camp Chef and Blackstone, two different companies. Their headquarters are in my tiny freaking town. But I want to go and I want to like reach out to them and be like, hey, I would like to come see your freaking headquarters and see what you guys got grilling wise. I'm like, also, by the way, we have a podcast if you want to be a sponsor. They're like, no, you guys,
Blackstone.
They're like, you talk about Traegers too much. No.
Like, I was going to say, wait till you hear back from Traeger first.
But anyway, yeah, I'd love to do that. So you like your Green Mountain then, right? Like it's been good for you. It doesn't hook to Wi-Fi or anything. It's just standard, right?
No, it hooks to Wi-Fi.
Oh,
so
nice.
I got the I don't remember the name. I think mine's like I can't remember if the Daniel Boone's the biggest or the Jim Bowie is the biggest, but at the time it was the biggest one they did, and I was actually mad because like I bought it, and then like a month later they came out with like their premium edition ones, and there wasn't a whole lot different. It was more like it's got a window in the pellet bay, so you can like see when your pellets are going. Okay. If you're super lazy and you don't want to lift it up and go, oh, I need pellets. You can like look through the window. And but I actually the sergeant that hired me at Newman when I was a wee lad, he actually runs this. He's got him and his wife actually have like a home store. But he also does like barbecue stuff. So he sells them, and he's got like, they sell all the pellets, and he's got like all the rubs and everything. So I actually, I got my Green Mountain because I actually did their fireplace mantle, and I was like, hey, I'll trade work for the Green Mountain. So it cost me like $200 to get the big. It was like a $700 barbecue, and I basically was like, hey, your mantle's like $500, so give me this, and I'll pay you $200. You give me that. So. That's how I got mine. Yeah.
Sweet.
That's the best way to do it. That way your wife can't say no when you spend the money. Be like, if you want to buy a $750 smoker, it'd be like, eh.
She didn't actually know. She came home, it was in the living room, and she was like, what is this? And I'm like, oh, we eating good tonight.
See, I knew you were my kind of guy because it was in the living room. That's how excited you were.
Yeah.
Sounds real
it was
familiar.
running. It's all plugged in. He's like, I wanted to test it out.
Yeah.
He's like, get it outside.
I got the Traeger home, and then my girlfriend got home later. She's like, really? And I was like, yeah. She's like, you let them talk you into it? And I was like, yep. And then like later I was talking to my buddy on the phone, and they were like, oh, how much was that one? And I was like $700, but I got like 150 whatever off. And she's like, you paid that much for that freaking thing? And I was like, no.
But she eats it, doesn't she?
She loves it now, huh?
Uh-huh.
She's actually not like that much of a fan of the smoke flavor. She likes the grill better.
If you guys haven't listened to like the first podcast episodes, we basically transformed Brandon.
Strong-armed me into it. They're like, all right, if you want to be on this podcast, there's a couple things we're going to have to go over. You're going to need to go buy a Traeger.
It was funny because me and Oscar, from Naughty Dog, we were talking, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to be on the podcast Sunday. He's like, you guys are going to talk about barbecue, aren't you? I'm like, oh, I'm sure we're going to talk about barbecue.
He's not allowed on here.
No, he's a vegetarian.
He's a vegan.
He's what?
You didn't know that?
No.
What?
Look, Chad don't like him anymore.
Chad, if you're just listening, Chad just lost a friend. And, he's no longer friends with Oscar.
He's a very surprised face.
He's a firefighter. I mean,
it's all coming together.
It all makes sense.
It's funny because he's like, I'll cook steaks. I just don't eat them. Like, you're so weird. I went over to his house one time and he was like eating this bowl of like, I don't know, quinoa and like all kind. I'm like, get out of here with that shit. And he's like, what? It's good. And I'm like, go put some freaking hamburger in there or something. He's like, no. He's like, I'm still healthier than you, which I can't deny because he's, actually takes care of his body. I'm like,
and you're like, yeah, but I love myself, so I let myself eat good
but
things.
I like food. So.
I've for 42 years, I've treated mine like a drag strip, man, fast and hard. It's just the way to go.
That's right. One day at a time.
One day at a time.
What's
what do you tip?
I was gonna say, what's your favorite
cook?
thing to throw in the smoker? Yeah. Jesse beat me to it.
So I think the best thing that I can get done is ribs, man. I've mastered ribs, and no offense, I'll slay you guys in ribs. I know you guys are pretty proud of your ribs, but this California boy, he'll mess you up.
Yeah, see, I challenge you man from California anytime. Let's go.
People always say the best barbecue comes from Cal. Oh wait, no, that's not
a thing. That's not
that's right. To be fair, if we're going off a location, JP probably has the best bet when it comes to that.
I've never heard any famous like pork butt come from Utah.
No, not pork butt, just polygamy. That's all we got.
I never understood that. I never understood multiple wives, man.
No, I can barely handle one.
I know. I've never been deathly afraid of a woman like I am my wife. She keeps me in line, like straight, like she will stab me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I met her. He's not lying. She's super nice to me.
Oh yeah.
I don't know about.
No, I mean like a definite godsend, but you definitely don't cross her. Nope.
Dude,
I wouldn't want to piss her off.
I'm married to a redhead, so I know exactly what you mean. So not only would she stab me, but she'll do it in my sleep.
Yeah, that's it's good though, man, because like when I'm kind of out there, so when I start like getting, when I start doing the Chad, she's like, calm down, and I'm like, oh, okay, breathe, and then everything's okay.
Count to 10.
Mm-hmm. And you have a son, right?
Yes,
just one kid.
Yeah.
How old is he?
He'll be 13 next week, actually. 7 days. So yeah.
Dang.
Yeah. And I want to punch him in the face every day. Oh my God.
Figuratively, everybody.
No, I literally want to punch him.
But you never have. Hey, we're trying to get you this. We're trying to not get you in trouble here, man.
No.
He's like, not this week. It's only Monday.
He is absolutely 100% exactly like his father.
Yeah.
So
well, he's already got a cooler truck than me. Yeah. So there's that.
Yeah, we got to start working on that thing.
What's he do? Does he play any sports?
Yeah, I mean, if we could have sports again, that'd be great.
Oh yeah.
So I thought he played baseball, right?
Yeah, honestly, man, the kid's a stud baseball player.
I thought so. Yeah.
Stud baseball player. He really gets the game. Like, it's just awesome. It's fun to watch your kids play. And he's played basketball, he's played soccer, he's played football, flag and tackle. But when he's on the baseball field, I'm just in awe because I was a horrible baseball player, horrible. And that kid, I'm just like, dude, keep it up. Like, you can go places.
That's cool.
Like, I don't think, as a dad, you don't ever want to be like, yeah, my kid can make pros. But I'm like, you could go to college, you can get college paid for. So, I mean, it's just, it's really fun to watch. Yeah, I would kill for him to be able to play sports again right now.
I bet that's gotta be hard. Like, I have 3 kids, obviously, and but here we've never been locked down, at least not to that point. Like, preschool's still open. I take my kids there. Like, the gym's open. We still take them to jiu-jitsu. We're getting them to hockey. And it's kind of during the winter time. You guys are different because you don't get freaking snow like we do, and you guys aren't really locked in your house when it comes to weather.
Yeah.
But we are here because, like, they just can't go out and play. It's been snowing all week.
Yeah.
But those little times give you that little break because, I mean, as a parent, it's like, dude, I love you to death, but you got to get out of here for like an hour. Let me regroup. So I can't imagine COVID right now and you guys just being stuck. And he's got to be antsy too, right?
Well, yeah, and it's hard too because I've always, I mean, ever since I was like 6 years old, man, it's, I'm a video game kid, right? Even at 42, we still get on Call of Duty and just slay. So I play. I mean, I'm in my game room right now. There's like 3 computers and 2. I got like 5 consoles in here, and so it's hard to keep him off. Like, I want to keep him off of the Xboxes and stuff as much as possible, but like, he wants to compete so bad that like now he's doing like tournaments on different games and stuff, and it's like, as a dad, I'm like, okay, well, I don't really want to tell him no, but like, he doesn't have anything else to do, so it's just balance. And I have 1. I mean, I can't imagine having 3. I can't imagine like having teenagers right now. I mean, that can't play sports and aren't going to school. I'm fortunate that he goes to a private school, so they've been in school. So at least he has that. But I mean, just seeing what, over the last, kind of 10 months, what parents were going through that I was dealing with, like on patrol still, I give it to them, man. They're drowning, something's got to change.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
what's weird about the video game thing too is like we're starting to get to a time. Well, like back in the day when TV started, which JP probably understands this. So when it went from radio to, well, even probably with radio, but it went from radio to TV, and they're like, oh, you can't, if you watch more than like an hour a day, you're fry your brain or whatever. It's like now that's all we do. Now we're on our phones, and it's like I feel like all of us adapt at some point. So it's like that kid, for you, it's like, he's wanting to compete. It's like, hey, listen, kid, go win us a couple $1 million on Fortnite. If that's what you're going to do and you're going to spend your time, let's actually win something. Like, it's hard. You don't know what to do because you're like, I want my kids outside playing. But at the same time, we're getting to a point in our society where it's like kids playing games all the time is kind of normal now, which is weird.
Yeah, I think it's all about balance, right? Like, I take Matt to the shop. And he that's cool. He literally sweeps, and like it was probably a month ago, like he literally was running the CNC, man. Like, we were throwing sheets of plywood when we were cutting everything for the restaurant and we were doing the dining booths. He was throwing the pins up. He was turning on the vacuum table. He was checking the program. He was hit and run. He was doing all that stuff. That's and he cool. just, probably because it's the age of technology and he's so used to being in front of a computer screen, it was like that. And like, he was like, Dad, I don't need your help. Boom, 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 boom. And he's done. And like, I was out doing other stuff. So, and I think the greatest thing is like just me running the business. Now he wants to start a business. He's got that entrepreneur, like, oh man, I can make stuff and people will pay me for it. So it's like, I want him to have that drive.
Yeah. 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 That's really cool.
Yeah. It sounds like for his first, when he turned 16, instead of buying him a first car, he'd be buying him a first CNC.
There you go. Yeah.
And he can probably pay for his own car pretty quick.
pretty well, he's got to get some GameStop stock going right now.
That's what it is. He's got that Dogecoin or whatever it is.
That already tanked. I've already lost $100.
Parents like, yeah, I lost money on that.
I was so pissed because I bought it before it was a penny. Like $50 or $60 when Aaron told me about it. And then I was like tired of watching it float because I had it for like 2 months and it just went up to like .095 or whatever,
It's
just
like
under a penny. And then I was like, screw this. I'm tired of it even being on my thing where I have to look at it all the time.
Oh, you sold it.
So I sold it, and I swear to God, the next day is when it shot up. And I was like, this is such bullshit.
It recently.
Oh, yeah. No, the day before it shot up. That's when I sold it. The night before, because it went like over a penny, but it had been going like above a penny, below, above, below, above. I was like, this is so dumb. Tired.
It was like 7 cents a couple days ago.
Yeah, it went up to 8.5.
Yeah,
and I was like, oh my God, I bought it at like .0095 or whatever.
Oh man!
But it was only like $50, so I would have made like $200 or whatever. But still. So then Aaron hands me $50 when it was at like 4 cents. He's like, dude, it's gonna go to the moon. He's like, just buy us $100 worth. And so I bought $100 worth, and then it went to like 8. And I was like, yeah. And everybody's like, oh, it's going to $1. I was like, that'd be sick. We'd make like 10 grand.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's now back down to like 2 cents.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. I know some people that have won, that have made significant money on this, and I absolutely love it. Like I think it is the best thing in the world, and like all these like big wig hedge funds, these billionaires that are just like losing their minds right now. Like it is the best thing ever. I've always wanted to play the stock market, and this is what got me into it. So now I own 91 shares of like that naked bar company, because like Wall Street Bets was like, oh, we're gonna pump this one up. Like I own like 12 shares of AMC. I'm like, AMC to the moon, let's go. I
think it's funny. Like even a year ago, I didn't see anything uniting either side of the spectrum, right?
No.
When it comes to political stuff.
Yes.
and this has united most people. I'm not talking about politicians, because they're still crony politicians, but I'm thinking about like the normal people, whether you're left or right. Everyone's like, yeah, hedge funds losing billions of dollars. I'm all for that.
Yes.
It's like, yeah, me too.
Yeah.
The only downside is if you're holding other stocks, they're making them all go down too.
Because but it'll all bounce back. Those other stuff. It'll all bounce.
Oh, it's awesome. I'm stoked about it.
Yeah, it's just like I've always wanted the American people to win. Like we all have our political views and everything, but man, like I genuinely want just people to do good things for themselves, right? Like that's the most important thing. Like it doesn't matter. Like, no, don't get me wrong. There's stupid people in the world, but like
a lot
of them, but generally like you want people to succeed. I don't care where you're from or what your beliefs are. People should be able to provide for their families. They should be able to have nice things. They should be able to go on vacations. And that's just the American dream. And if you can go get it, you know?
Yeah. I think that the thing too is that most people, like 90% of people, 100% agree with what you're saying. You know, Did I just pull an Anchorman? 60% of the time, it works. Every time. No, but like 90% of the entire country is totally like with you, and I think like, or 99% of people will say, yeah, everyone should have an opportunity to do this. It's just like we might disagree on how we get there.
Yes.
And I think we've been so polarized. Not that we talk politics very much, but we're so polarized that we've missed that fact. Like the two tiny spectrums on the far ends are yelling so loud that the rest 99% of us that all agree on, at least on the basic premise of like the American dream, that we can't talk to each other. We can't even debate or figure out the best way to do stuff. And any glimmer of hope like this, where like everybody on my social media, like left, right, whatever, they're all like, yeah, this is cool. And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of nice. Change the pace from last 8 years or whatever it's been since, you know.
I remember back when people wouldn't even talk about their politics or political beliefs. It's like, I don't talk politics. And now it's like, that's all I do is blast on Facebook because I'm bored at home all the time.
Well,
like, and calm down.
I think the pandemic and people being stuck in their house. Like
it's multiplied it by 10 for sure.
And I'm absolutely guilty of it. And Brandon, I think you follow me on social media. So like my business social media is very hard for me to keep because I'm very political. And it's been very hard for me to separate it because my beliefs might be different from my customers, and that's perfectly okay. Right? Like that's perfectly okay. and I physically had to take a step back from Facebook because I didn't like the person that I was becoming on social media, right? Like I was like, this isn't me. Like this is like so I think that's probably happened over the last year because people have been stuck in their houses and they've been like on social media constantly. And instead of just realizing that we're humans, it's just another computer screen, you know? Right. So it's like,
you got to pick a side.
Yeah. And it's like, I can have one belief that would fall on one political spectrum, and I can have another belief that would fall on another political spectrum. And it doesn't mean that you fall on either side. And I think we just have to realize that people are people, right? Like we all have faults. We all have, you know, pluses, I guess, and that we're all human. And then at some point, like we all have to realize that, you know, we should at least find common ground.
I think the only reason that I like social media is because I don't have a personal social media. Like I don't have any personal social media stuff whatsoever. And I think that is because my social media is just generated into helping people and having conversations and talking to friends and stuff like that. Like I don't care. I never have any political or any conversations like that on my social medias. And it's not because I try to steer clear of it or whatever. It's just typically somebody needs help, you know, figuring out something, whatever it is in woodworking or DIY or whatever. And I try to help them, or vice versa. I'm seeking their help and they help me. And there's nobody ever cares what you are and who you voted for or who does. It's just, you know, I have no idea. We're just helping each other out. And it's kind of nice that way. I think if I had a personal one where it was all opinionated stuff like that, I'd hate it. I would hate social media because of it.
Instagram's not as bad, but Facebook is
horrible.
I'm sure.
Horrible.
I've turned my Facebook into like I make a point to not like even if I agree with something like that's extreme, because they feed off that and that's what they give you ads off of and show you more of is whatever you like and engage with. That's what they show you more of. So people get mad, and you know everybody knows that anger drives you know, you more than anything. So all these people just get this angry feed constantly, even if that's not really what all your friends and family are posting. That's just what shows up because that's what you're engaging with. Well, I've made a point to make it to where like I've joined groups of stuff that I'm interested in and make a point to like all that stuff. And now my feed is like mostly cars, you know, and like, you know, guns and whatever else I'm into, rather than, you know, all this polarizing crap that my friends think they're changing the world with.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like for me, it's just like I had to step back and be like, look, I don't want any part of this anymore. It's not
healthy. No,
it's not healthy. And actually, I can't remember who told me it, but somebody told me a long time ago, and it was like, I think it's like, I don't know, the 5-minute rule. Like if it's not going to affect your life in 5 years, don't spend 5 minutes worrying about it. And I've really tried to kind of focus, and I think I'm a happier person because of that. Like it like, honestly, if it's not going to affect me in 5 years, why do I care? Right. Like the bottom line is,
or if it's not going to affect you directly anyway.
Yeah.
Like, I remember when I couldn't even tell you who our governor was. That's what I was telling these guys the other day. I was like, when I was 22, 20, I had no idea who the governor was. I didn't care. It didn't bother me. I don't give a shit, you know. It didn't affect my life. And it still really doesn't, honestly. I mean, just to a point, you know, I guess, I mean, if you're a business owner and they're shutting down your business because of COVID or whatever, that's a different story. Different. But, you know, now it's like all you see. It's like all politics all the time.
But you guys do have an amazing governor.
Oh, so we're friends. I hang out with him on the weekends.
You're like, I go to his vineyard. It's still open. It's
me and him, we eat outdoors. Me and him eat outdoors, indoors all the time.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, congratulations, Chad. You have now been a part of the deepest podcast we've ever had.
Yeah, that is
politics and stuff. We don't usually.
I'm gonna need more whiskey for that conversation.
I'll bring him by.
Yeah,
you can meet him.
Oh man,
have you guys seen, talking about social media being toxic? Did you guys see the social dilemma yet?
No, I have not watched it, but I want to.
So that's something I've actually put off too, because it's pretty much my livelihood.
I haven't watched it because of that, Jesse. I can't bring myself to watch it because I know it's probably going to be true, and I just don't want to see it.
I feel like I'm gonna have a lot of guilt.
Yeah,
at the end, it's like, oh man, I'm like, even though the content I create's not negative in any light or anything like that, like I pretty stay on my woodworking stuff. I stay pretty apolitical. I just don't talk about it and whatnot. But even that being said, just the fact that I pretty much live on my phone and all that, it's like, I really don't want to like watch this and make me still feel guilty for the next like 4 weeks. Then I forget about it. I'm back on my phone again all the time. But
yeah,
I've thought about deleting Instagram from my phone, like just completely, and just having it on my iPads, which I think would help separate stuff. But then I can't do stories, which is pretty critical, and I can't do other stuff. And it's like,
see,
I don't know.
I do a lot of stories now, and I don't know if my followers like it. I have like my attention span to sit in the shop, and I don't know how you guys do it, and the sheer amount of like focus and dedication that it has to take to like remember to move cameras and get good shots and do all that stuff is insane to me, right? So like I do stories because it's simple. Like I remember like, oh, I got to post, right? Like, okay, I'm going to post something. So it's literally just me. You'll see me in my ugly mug, like, you know, holding the phone and I'm just doing a story like, hey, this is what I'm working on right now. So like, hopefully that engagement is there, but like, so the phone is my lifeline for my business right now. And it's very hard. Like, that's the reason I haven't watched it, because like, I don't want to feel guilty about being on my phone. But it's like, this is how literally I make money. I mean, in 5 years, I've never paid for advertisements other than a few on Instagram. I've never gone and just been like, hey, this is who I am. Like, you know, if you need anything, let me know. So everything comes from Instagram. So that constant, like, having to be on there and stay relevant is always there. So I've found that I can just satisfy that with stories, right? And then a post here and there. So,
yeah.
Yeah,
I kind of do the same thing with my stories. Well, I've been trying to do a little bit because we're in different spaces, obviously.
Yeah.
Because I have to do the content stuff. And I'm trying to become less one-dimensional in my channel so that I don't... Because I don't want to just do shop projects constantly. That's why I did the outdoor theater and I did other stuff in the trailer and try to diversify. But I filmed the other day entire like Nerf gun war that I did with my kids because like it was Friday and I take it, and it's like that was fun to me and it was completely different than I usually do. So that's something different. But when I'm in the shop, you don't seem like I don't film and set up a camera to do a story to show me cutting something ever. No. I do all my stories at the beginning and I usually do them all at the end. So it's like, hey, this is what I'm doing today. And the next one you'll see is like, hey, I finished it up, I'm done. Yeah. And that's basically all my story. And then it's family stuff on top of that. But
so when you did that Nerf gun thing, do you find that, right? I actually did enjoy that quite a bit. Do you find that when you do stuff like that, you get more like messages, responses to the story rather than woodworking stuff? Because that's what I get too.
Yeah. And so I think the people that are following us, right, when they're actually watching your stories, the people that want to see but like more of you personally, right? So I get a lot of message. Well, I mean, I get every time I do anything with my kids, I get a lot of messages saying like, "Oh, that's really awesome. You're doing this," or like, you know, especially with me being pretty. My wife hates me saying I'm a stay-at-home dad, but that's pretty much what I am. Just I run my business at home, so I'm kind of a stay-at-home dad, sort of, right? And but people like seeing that side because it's different and it's not. Because some people, I'm sure you guys know, some people follow you and they like what you build, but that's not why they're following you, not necessarily.
But they get bored with it. I mean, you follow somebody for years and all you see is woodworking.
Exactly.
And then somebody's like, hey, look at this like thing I did in the yard or whatever. They're like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Well, that's why I've gotten a lot of new followers from the trailer, like the YouTube trailer video, which is, taken off or whatever. And so I get a lot from there. So I'm not trying to just do shop videos because I feel like those people aren't into necessarily just shop stuff, right? Because they might not be into DIY pretty much at all, except that they want to learn how to get a trailer for cheap and be able to go camping with their family because they don't have a lot of money. And so I don't want to just do the shop thing and then watch like this, I don't know, follow along for 3 weeks and be like, yeah, all he does is the shop.
Yeah.
So it's kind of lame, you know?
I think my stories are probably as close to personal social media as I get. That's where I put anything like about my kids, about, you know, me and outside the shop, and I just throw some pictures up or whatever. But I do the same thing, Jesse, and I get a lot more views in my stories than I think, but I get a lot of interaction, and it is sometimes I'll go through and look at who's looking at my stories, and I can always tell it's like the people that I talk with the most. It's the people that are beyond the woodworking stuff.
Mm-hmm. I've also gotten to where you think, like, you may not think if you don't get messages about something that people don't see it, and they didn't like it or something like that, which is like something you shouldn't do. But like the Nerf gun war thing, I had a ton of fun filming it. I just pretty much did it because every Friday I have the kids from morning to like freaking 2-3 o'clock, and they're like, I have them here, so I don't usually get a lot of work done. So I was like, I need to have fun because I'm cooped up in this house, so I'm just gonna do this. But I got a lot of people that told my wife at her work that apparently follow me. They were like, oh, that's so funny that they did that. And then I got text messages outside of Instagram, or I hear them talk about it later, or someone talked to me later, and they're like, yeah, that was funny. And at first I was like, I don't know how this is going to go. And I didn't even know how to gauge it. But then from responses later, just because you don't get a message or a like doesn't mean that necessarily people didn't enjoy it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird to gauge.
The one thing what's weird to me is that I stopped doing probably when the Instagram got static. I mean, I've been hovering around 18,000 followers for probably a year and a half, right? Down, up, you know, all that. One thing I stopped, and it took me probably, you know, a year to stop doing it. I stopped caring about likes. Like, it was weird for me. Like, I didn't want to solely base it on content, right? Like, I didn't want to be a content creator just because I didn't have the focus to do it, right? Like, just because it's so in depth of what I thought it was kind of initially. I thought it was kind of like, oh, that's super easy, right? And then I was kind of like, oh, my followers aren't, you know, because there was a time where like I had more followers than Brandon, and I was kind of going like this, and then this dude went like this, right? like, and I was like, well, that sucks. And then it was kind of like, well, we do different things, right? Like, they're two completely different worlds. They're two completely different skill sets, and like I was like, hey, look, I've got orders, so obviously something's working for me. So like I gave up on it. Like if you go through my Instagram, there's probably posts like, oh, look, here's a piece of plywood with like pieces of plywood coming out with it, and it's going to be picture frames, like the stuff I'm doing right now that I put on my stories. And like, but like I get orders, so I'm kind of like, okay, well, if the business is doing what the business needs to do, why do I care? Like, why am I going to stress about it, right? So I just had to literally tell myself, don't do this. Don't stress over likes. Don't stress over, you know, that type of stuff, and just do what you're going to do. And I do that. Like, if you look at my Instagram, all my stuff is shop stuff, other than the occasional, I got a drink in my hand and I'm feeling good, or I'm barbecuing something. Like, and it was very hard for me to kind of put myself out there. Like, you'll see many more stories with me, like actually like my face on there. And that was when I kind of started to see the engagement, because I think people start to, you know, relate to you. Yeah, they connect to you more than just, you know, oh, I'm talking and here's a piece of plywood that I'm cutting. Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, Chad, I'm just really curious personally on this, but sitting around 18,000, because I know that the three of us see this a lot where we're at. Do you see a lot of ebbs and flows in followers, or do you just pretty much stay steady right where you are?
It's funny. Every time I get on Instagram, like, and you know, you get the little pop up that shows you got 100 likes and like 6 comments. There's always like 8 followers, right? there's, you got 9 new followers, or like this morning I had a big day, I had 10, right? So I'm like, oh, I got 10 new followers. Well, what's funny is if you go to insights, there's 10 new followers and 9 that unfollowed.
Yeah.
Right. And there's like 8 new followers and 6 that unfollowed. So I always hover kind of in the same area. And I don't know. I don't know what it is, and it's just one of those things that, like, if you're gonna, like, the stuff that you guys do is completely different. So, I guess in an essence, I think you guys kind of live and breathe more off of followers than we do, just because it's like our stuff is customer based versus content. So, content is, I assume, follower driven, right?
Yeah.
Well, I'll say that.
Engagement driven.
I was going to say
engagement driven.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where it's gotten now. Now, I will agree with you in the early ons. We were looking at followers, and I wouldn't say that's the wrong thing, but we didn't know. We were just kind of getting used to this thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And really, it doesn't matter about the followers. It is about that engagement. It is
just
about
talking
the
to
relationship and the followers. Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I look more towards now. I could care less about followers. I'm looking more towards, do I have a good engagement with my following?
Yeah.
I would rather have a good core following than a lot of followers. But I see the same thing. So what you're saying, I think all three of us do, is it's just at different levels, but we all see the same thing. There's a lot of unfollows, and there's a lot of follows, and it just kind of, ebbs and flows a little bit and keeps kind of equaling out.
Yeah, it's really weird to see how social media works, like, and I honestly gave up on, like, trying to master it. Like, I was like, look, I'm going to do what I do, and if people like it, they like it, and if they don't have to follow it, because I'm about, like, I just want to build stuff, right? Like, I want to build stuff, like, so that's where it really comes down to me, like. But I am trying to engage, because I feel bad. Like, when somebody comments, somebody took time out of their day to comment on something I posted. And it's not that I don't want to, but, like, my phone's constantly going off with personal stuff and emails and alerts. And a lot of times I'll see it and I'm like, hey, I want to respond to it. And then I forget about it. And then, like, 2 days later, I'm like, man, that person took time out of their day to comment and say, hey, that looks really good. And I didn't even take the time to say, hey, thanks. Even that small, hey, thank you. I appreciate it. So that's where I feel like I fall short on the engagement issue. And I hope people don't feel like they're, being left out, or I don't care, because I do, but it's just like, man, I forget about it.
Until that comment is, if I had those tools, I could build that too.
Yeah.
You're like, what? I don't care.
So, like, only because you got that cool CNC. That's the only reason you get to do this stuff.
Well, if they want the payment, they can have one too.
Yeah.
You know what I've started gauging a lot of my engagement with is the DMs. Like, I feel like the direct messages, it's such a good way to feel out how you're connecting with people. And I'm trying to be really good at messaging people back and actually having legit conversations, and not just being like, thanks.
Yeah. I
which I try. That's still good, but it's like, I want to have a back and forth and, like, talk to people, because a lot of people, they see a big number and they're like, oh, like, I'm not going to message that guy because it's, like, either intimidating or whatever it is. And it's like, all of us, if you message, Brandon's probably the best, because Brandon reached out to me when we first started social media, like when I first started, and got me into the group message with everybody.
Yeah.
He's a little chatty Cathy.
I'm always the best. Everyone loves me.
But, everybody, like, for me, I mean, you guys kind of know, even on group messages, I'm not good at, like,
he sucks
messaging back.
Yeah.
But if you message me, you guys all know,
worst.
if you message me directly, I'll message you back as fast, pretty fast, and I'm always there.
I try not to text him after 8 p.m. though, because he's sleeping.
No, yeah, for sure.
he's got that old guy syndrome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the 3 kids syndrome.
We were arguing earlier because I was like, he's like, can we get on a half hour earlier? And I was like, I gotta eat dinner. He's like, I'm already done with dinner. It's like 4 p.m.
It's 4 p.m.
What is wrong with you?
It was 5:12. It was 5:12.
And I was like, I feel like 6 to 7 is a normal dinner time. And then I literally Googled it and it says normal American dinner time, 6 to 7:30.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah. Yeah, I used to eat dinner at 7 p.m. every night because I was on patrol. 7 p.m. was when graveyard started. So, at 7 p.m. there was an extra guy, so I'd come home and eat and all that stuff. And now it's kind of weird because I can eat dinner at really any time. You know?
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird the freedom you have on the little stuff.
Yes.
When you're done, you're like, because that's what you said you worked swings most of your career.
Yeah.
Yeah, so did I. For the 5 years, I worked from 3 p.m. to 1 a.m.,
Yeah.
And I'd always, but I lived in a small town, or we live in a small town too, so I got to come home for dinner as well. That's what you got to?
Yeah, every night.
Yeah, get to put your kids down for bed and all that stuff, and it's great. But eating at 7 p.m., as soon as I stopped, I was like, oh, I can eat at like 5?
No, I know.
Sweet, I'm gonna eat at 5.
Yeah.
But then I'm starving by like 8.
right.
So that's not a good move.
Yeah. I'm always hungry by 11. I'm like dying, gotta eat.
Yeah.
I'm always hungry.
I know that it's been close to an hour and a half now, but I want to end it on a good woodworking question. And I'm curious myself. I've actually always been curious about this, Chad, following you over the years, but what is your favorite or best way to make tables when you're mass producing them like that? Do you have a certain style that is your go-to that you like to do? Because when I see people do stuff like that, and I've seen local Nashville people do it, I'm always curious. I'm like, that is a lot of tables to make. So do you have a style that you try to stick with that you can mass produce, or?
Like as a style of table or just a process?
No, process, a way you build them.
Basically it's, you kind of have to just prioritize really glue ups, right? So like it depends on the style of the table. So like if I'm going to do a farmhouse table, the first thing that I'm going to do is mill and glue up the legs and kind of rough mill all the base parts. And then once those are gluing up, then I'm going to start working on the tabletop. Because when the tabletop's in glue up, then I can start working on the base, right? I can start building the base. The one thing that I've learned is it's easier because like when I do client builds, there's always a parameter, right? Like, so if a client calls me and says, hey, I want an 8-foot table that's 36 inches long. Depending on what happens during the milling process, because after you initially mill stuff can move and then it might have to be remilled. So like, okay, your table is going to be anywhere between like 2 inches in between, right? So that table could end up 34 inches wide or it could end up like 94 inches long. So because, once I cut the material, then we got to start milling it down and it changes. So typically like on bases, I'll do the base parts first and get those pieces and glue up. While those are drying, I will do the tabletops and get those basically in clamps. While that's drying, I will do the table base and get that built and then basically finish it off. Because while you move from one thing to another, something is always like in clamps and drying and it goes much faster.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah. Well, like woodworkers who do social media or woodworkers who do certain things, I think that woodworkers who can come up with a process to mass produce stuff for clients is a whole new level of skill set. And I got a lot of respect for it, man. So that's pretty awesome. I like that kind of stuff. It really interests me. I love that kind of stuff because I have a small shop, you know what I mean? And I have room to make like one thing at a time. So I actually like take a lot of interest in people who do that mass kind of produce stuff that isn't like in a factory, I mean, you just got a shop, you're a one-man shop, so I think it's cool.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for coming on, Chad.
I appreciate it, guys.
Hour and a half, and it went by fast. That was a lot of fun. And you'll have to come on again.
For sure.
Chad, make sure you tell us where to find Tell everybody where to find you, websites, whatever.
So I am only on Facebook and Instagram under Earle's Woodworks. It's EARLES Woodworks. I have not fallen into the TikTok family yet.
Stay off.
It's a time suck.
My wife's on it and we watch it in bed, and I'm like, there's no way I can download this because I will never get anything done. Exactly. But yeah, just Facebook and Instagram, and hopefully soon a website if I can ever get photos to Jesse. So it's crazy. Like the stuff is cut and ready to be sanded and finished. I just have not gotten to it yet. So it's coming soon, but you'll have it by the end of the week.
Well,
you're all good.
What will the website be? Because by the time this podcast comes out, it's going to stay out forever. So at least, plug it in there.
Yeah, I mean, really just, to be honest with you, I put all my trust in Jesse, man. I just wanted to have a website that somebody could go to, that they could email me if they wanted to, that eventually we could start building an e-commerce site, right? Because I've over the last 6 or 7 months, I've been designing in VCarve and just I want to help woodworkers a lot, stuff that I couldn't find when I was starting out. So like I want to be able to cut like clamping squares for cabinets, and like I've got I bought the Ron Polk wood bench or woodworking bench that I never built, and so I kind of modified that and changed that, just things for woodworkers, and then also obviously just client stuff, cornholes and stuff that can be shipped, and then wood species.
And that's at earlswoodworks.com, right?
Yes, I think that's going to be a handle, right, Jesse?
I think so. I believe so. If not, we'll put it in the description below, so don't worry about it.
Jack of all trades, Jesse's got it.
Yeah.
Right?
Hey, thanks for listening, guys. Make sure you review or rate the podcast. Give us 5 stars. If you think about giving us 1 star, just keep going to something else. And make sure you follow us on Instagram. Anyways, see you guys next time. Go build something.
I've never heard any famous pork butt come from Utah.
No, not pork butt, just polygamy. That's all we got.